Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be putting together my TBR for the month of October. Now, I have a bunch of books that I want to try and fit into this TBR, but as usual, I will be using my TBR machine website that I made that spits out random reading prompts to pick the books on my TBR. As well, I'm going to be trying to make this a realistic reading plan as I do what I've started doing the last couple of months, and I'm still deciding if this is the best way, but I've basically given myself a quota of 1,500 pages for physical books, 500 pages for digital books, which I like to read like in the morning before I turn on the lights, and then 50 hours of audiobooks. So that's what we're trying to get on the TBR, and we're just going to generate prompts from the TBR machine until we hit quota for the different formats. And hopefully I can fit all these books in front of me on the TBR somehow. So let us start by generating the first prompt. We have reread a book you've read before. This is perfect because one of the books I wanted to read is Spectre by Philippa Ballantyne. So this is the second book in the Book of the Order series. And to be honest, I first read this series 10 years ago, and I'm just about to start the first book because I'm filming this a little bit before the end of September. So hopefully I can read the first book before October starts and then pick up the second book in October. But because I haven't read it for 10 years, I can't tell you much about it. It's something about this order of magic where they protect people from like ghosts and specters and other kind of paranormal things from coming through from the other side. But then there's a lot of other magical mysteries going on as well. I'm hoping to really love this on a reread. I mean, of course, I loved it the first time, although my reading tastes have changed a lot in the last 10 years, so I guess we'll see how this goes. Also, I should be able to get the ebook of this from my library, so I'm going to put it in my digital ebook quota, but it's only 310 pages, so we've still got a little bit of room for probably one other ebook. I think so. Okay, let's pick the second prompt. We have read the next book in a series that you have started but not finished. Also perfect because quite a few of these are series I've started and not finished. Actually, my problem is, which one should I pick? This is the problem sometimes because I always pick a book before I move on to the next prompts. So sometimes that means things are not optimized. You know what? Let's pick Age of Empire. This is not Age of Empire. This is Age of Death, which is the book that I'm also currently reading, hoping to finish in September. And I want to read the sixth and final book in the series in October. So that's Age of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a series about elves and humans, although they're called runes and Frey, but that's what they are. So in the beginning, the runes, who are quite primitive technologically, they see the elves as like godlike beings, but then a human accidentally kills an elf, which kind of leads to this bigger conflict and the humans discovering that the elves are in fact not gods. In the fifth book, we're actually learning quite a lot about the gods of the world, and I don't really know when the series is going to go in the sixth book. And this is a series also that's in Michael J. Sullivan's Bigger Rivaria series. So it's kind of the ending, but also not the ending because there's more series that I'll be reading later. Anyway, I'm also hoping to read that via ebook. So I'm going to put it in the ebook quota, even though it's 395 pages, which would put me up to 705 for digital. But of course, I can read some of those digital books during my physical book time. So we'll actually just increase the digital quota and decrease the physical quota, but honestly, probably not on the graphic because I'm probably too lazy. But just know we're not really aiming for 1,500 anymore. We're aiming for more like 1,300. Okay, so that's 2 books on the TBR. Let's pick another prompt. We have read your most recent book purchase. There's a couple of ways I could go with this. My actual most recent purchase is here in front of me. However, this is in front of me as a maybe. What I actually really want to read in October is the sequel to Infinity Gate, which I just finished before I started filming this. So the second book in the series is called Echo of Worlds, and I'm going to buy it. I have a voucher that I can use to buy it. I just need to do the actual admin of buying it, and then I expect it should not take too long to show up because when I bought this, it didn't take too long to show up. Here in New Zealand, we do have to always consider how long shipping might take. Sometimes it takes a while. Anyway, Echo of Worlds is the sequel to Infinity Gate, part of the Pandemonium duology. It's just a duology, actually. So once I finish the second book, I will have finished the series. It's a story in this world where There are a bunch of multiverses that are ruled by the Pandemonium, and we're following this scientist who kind of accidentally, when she discovers multiverse travel, travels into the Pandemonium and kind of gets in a bit of trouble as a result. But there's also kind of several AI things going on in the multiverse that's having an impact. I have a few mixed feelings about this, but I did love it. I am hoping to love the second book. So we're going to put that on the TBR. It is 512 pages, so quite long, but this one read fairly quickly for being about 500 pages, so I don't think it'll be too bad. So that'll be the first third of our physical book quota. So then let's pick another prompt. We have read a book with purple on the cover. There is purple in front of me at the bottom of this. However, this is a stand-in for the sequel that I don't think has purple on the cover. Let me go look at some covers. Every book I'm finding with purple on the cover is one I don't want to read via audiobook, and I actually don't think I have much space. If I want to get the books I want to get into the TBR, I don't think I have enough space on my physical quota to be throwing in random purple books. Okay, that took a really long time to find something, but I've decided what I'm going to go with is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Yes, that's her name. So this is a book a lot of people have been saying really great things about lately, although I'm still a little bit concerned. I did see Elliot Brooks say that some of the writing was a little bit juvenile, which is what I thought when I first saw people talking about it, but then more and more people raved about it, and I thought, no, it does sound like it's going to be some kind of really great fantasy mystery story. But now I'm a little bit concerned again. But regardless, I'm going to read this by audiobook. It has purple on the cover. It is 24 hours, so it'll take about half of my quota, but that's okay. It's a new release. I wanted to read it, or at least I wanted to try it. Let's remember, if I'm not enjoying it, we can DNF it and find something else. So that'll be on the TBR, and then we will pick the next reading prompt. Okay, so I got read a science fiction book. I have a couple of options. What I'm going to go with, though, is God's War by Cameron Hurley. So this is another book on my list of books that I wanted to reread that I read 10 years ago, and I know I loved them 10 years ago, but I can't remember enough about them now, so I wanted to reread them. And I was kind of doing a reread project this year that I have been failing at, but the plan is for this last quarter to be mostly rereads to make it easier for me to like pre-film some of my favorites videos, since I shouldn't be finding new favorites in my rereads. So God's War is about this bounty hunter called Nyx on this planet where the tech is all really bug-based, and as well there's like some politics going on. All I really remember is I love it. Oh, and that Nyx is kind of a disaster, and that's part of why I love it. So I'm very excited to reread this, and it's 396 pages, so we'll take that off the physical book quota, which I guess means we have space for maybe one more physical book, maybe. Anyway, we've also still got space for audiobooks, so let's get another prompt. We have read a second-hand book. So in the same vein of rereading books, I kind of wanted to reread The Fog and the rest of this trilogy, which I own. And this is only 200 pages, so we can definitely fit it in there. I'm not sure if this is like the top thing I wanted to fit in there. That's why I'm being a bit hesitant about it, but I think we can do it. So this is by Caroline B. Cooney, and it is a point thriller. I used to read so many point thrillers back when I was a teen, and this was a series I particularly loved about these students that have been homeschooled on an island, and then when they kind of get to their high school years, they move to the mainland and they stay in this kind of boarding house. But when she moves there, things are strange going on in the house. I have reread this, and I think because of the nostalgia factor, I'll always love it. So I'm looking forward to fitting this in as a reread. But that will mean that we're up to like 1,800 pages overall, and we only have like 150 pages left in there. But I do still have some audiobook quota, so we'll see how we go. Let's get another prompt. We have read a book with an ugly cover. This is perfect for one of the audiobooks I wanted to read, and that is School of Shards. Now, you might not think that this is that ugly, but the first book in the series, Vita Nostra, beautiful in my opinion, and School of Shards is just kind of boring, and I also don't think it really represents the weirdness that I'm expecting from this book. So This is a trilogy. The third and final book has only just been translated to English, and I'm super excited to read it because I've just reread the first 2 books in the series and I love them. It's about this young girl who ends up going to this Institute of Special Technology where everything they're learning is really bizarre and abstract, and they're kind of set on this process of transformation, and at the same time, whenever they do badly at school, it's like severe consequences for anyone they love. I do think the third book is going to be following a different perspective, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but I love the first 2 books so much that I'm super excited to finally get this third one. Although unfortunately that's only a 10-hour audiobook. I wish it was going to be a bit longer. I feel like it's not going to be quite long enough to get fully into the weirdness, but it does also mean we've still got 15 hours on the quota, so let's get another reading prompt. Ooh, I have read an anthology. So another thing I actually wanted to read this month is another short story from the January short story anthology. So something I started in September is basically a reread. Yes, another reread of this anthology. So there are 12 short stories in this, and each grouping of 3 is based around a season. So I decided to start rereading this in spring because that's where the book starts. Spring in New Zealand, of course, not spring in the Northern Hemisphere. So I read the first short story in September, and the second one, The Audit, I'll be reading in October. It's only 20 pages though, so it doesn't really make much of a difference whether I get it officially in the quota or not, because it makes very little difference to it. The second story is something about like a situation where they will do a calculation of how much money they think you're going to earn in your lifetime, and then you can basically take your retirement in advance. Just the deal is that once you've used all your money, or once you get your retirement time that they've calculated, then you will just have to work from there to like pay back your retirement. And this guy has applied and he's gonna find out how much money he gets for his retirement. I quite enjoyed it on the first read, so hoping I will also like it on the second read. But as I said, 20 pages doesn't make much difference to the quota, so we can do another prompt. We have, read a romance book. Now, normally I would not be happy about that. However, the one last book I have in front of me is Dreamer's Pool, although this is a stand-in for Towers of Thorn by Juliet Marillier. So this is like a fantasy romance series. I read the first book, Dreamer's Pool, or I listened to the audiobook of it in September, and I loved it. I wasn't expecting necessarily to love it, even though I've loved stuff by Juliet Marillier before, so I shouldn't have been surprised, but I'm super excited to continue this series. It's the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy, and we're following Blackthorn and Grimm. Blackthorn is a healer, and at the beginning we meet her, she's in prison, and she's planning to get revenge on the person who put her there, but instead, because it becomes clear that that's very unlikely, this Faye comes along and offers her a deal that if she leaves the area and then promises to always use her skills to help people whenever they ask, if she does that for 7 years, then he will arrange her escape. So in the first book, a lot of things happened, but basically Blackthorn and this guy Grimm that has kind of followed along with her, this tough guy Grimm, they have found a new home, and now I think the second book, we might get a little bit more of Blackthorn's magic, which was only hinted at in the first book. But I also really love the audiobook experience of this. So it's a 16-hour audiobook, which is actually perfect. I think I kept saying 15 hours before is how much I had, but I actually had 16 hours. So now we're perfectly in line for the audiobook quota. There was honestly one more book I was hoping to fit on this TBR, but we've hit quota. So, well, we haven't quite. I have about 100 pages to spare, but I think I would be better off to just try and get through all this and then tack some things on if I have extra time, rather than go over quota and like put too much on myself, especially since I still don't know if my September TBR is gonna spill over. So that means this will be my TBR for the month of October, although this I'm only gonna read one short story from. This is an audiobook, and I'll also have a couple of other audiobooks, and these are stand-ins for other books in the series, but they're about the right length. I didn't miss anything, did I? No. Is this really an achievable TBR, Honestly, only time will tell. I guess we will see. Let me know whether you've read any of these books and whether you think I'm going to like them. And of course, check back in at the end of the month when I will do my wrap up, as well as I usually vlog all the reading that I do throughout the month. And also let me know if you've got any exciting reading plans for October. I know in the Northern Hemisphere, it's all about the spooky season. I'm not sure I've really pulled it off with this, but there's a couple in there that maybe might fit. Maybe just these top two. Anyway, do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.